Welcome to everyone tuning in for Hirsch's live showcase debate. This is our first virtual showcase debate, but the same structure will apply to these speeches.
So we have two advanced teams, both of which have been working very hard throughout the entire season to prepare both sides of the topic. Race-based affirmative action does more harm than good. Today, they're showcasing everything they've learned. Speech order should be the same. It's prop 1, op 1, prop 2, op 2, op 3, and then prop 3. Remember, guys, please keep POIs to a minimum. And then all introductions and roadmap will be on time, so no off-time roadmaps, no heckles. Speeches are 5 minutes, and I will have a timer on screen for you guys to see. And you have a 10-second grace period before you have to come to a full stop. So no going past 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
And after the debate, we will take a short break for some words from the leads, us, me, and Kevin. And during that time, we will also be collecting our judges' ballots as they discuss. So we will announce the winner right after. All right, so we can get started right now. Proposition first speaker, you may start.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alice. I am the first proposition speaker, and I will be speaking for the topic, Race-Based Affirmative Action Does More Harm Than Good in Public Schools. We define race-based affirmative action as an advantage given to minority races within public school invitations, though we mainly refer to the invitations as college acceptance letters. My first point is that this affirmative action causes students to be placed in classes where they cannot flourish. Since students who are the minority are more likely to get into colleges than Caucasian students with the same SAT scores and GPA, these students are the ones that underperform when they could have flourished in another, less competitive, college. This wastes tuition and takes away a spot from someone who could have done better and thrived in the environment. According to The Atlantic, an American magazine that won 2 National Magazine Awards in 1993 and again in 2003, when a college lowers its standards for students of color, these students are underprepared in comparison to others, and the teachers, who set their paces fast because they assume students of color can keep up. This student then falls behind in classwork and becomes confused, therefore failing the class, further reinforcing the idea that people of color are weak students. An African-American student from Columbia, Daryl T. Downing, even said, "Columbia is not the situation we're used to," which shows he and other students of color may have had a hard time adjusting. This affects hundreds, maybe thousands of students across the U.S. who go to schools that allow race-based affirmative action, but really gives the thousands of students of color a bad name and another reason for discrimination against them in the workplace. Our second contention is that a race-based affirmative action promotes racism. Affirmative action is giving minority races a better chance than other students, giving unfair advantage to those minority races. E.J.R. David, Ph.D., in his article, The Distortion of Martin Luther King Jr.'s Dream, stated that by continuing to demand preferential treatment simply due to the color of your skin, you are the one preventing MLK's dream of a colorblind society from coming true, because you keep separating yourself from the rest of us. Affirmative action is causing the colorblind society, but this time reversed from what Mr. King saw, with Caucasians and Asians being the oppressed. To summarize my contentions for the judge's convenience, affirmative action causes students to be placed in over-competitive classes and promotes racism. Therefore, race-based affirmative action does more harm than good in public schools. Thank you for listening.
My time starts now. Hello everyone, my name is Ayush Parikh and I am the first opposition speaker on the topic that race-based affirmative action in public schools does more harm than good. Here's a quick roadmap for your convenience. First, I will refute proposition's contentions and their definition, and then I will state what the proposition cannot say and my contentions. So Proposition 1 said that race-based affirmative action puts students into classes where they can't flourish. Just because minority students admitted into better universities are ambitious and wish to prove that they belong there, they work harder and study more, resulting in better educational enrichment than if they were not admitted to better public school universities. Furthermore, they are statistically able to keep up with the rigor and perform similarly well to their Caucasian peers due to their ambition and motivation to perform well. Proposition 1 also said that race-based affirmative action promotes racism. Affirmative action gives priority to minorities, which is the exact opposite of racism. Yes, we are distinguishing people based on race, but unlike racism, we are doing it to benefit everyone. Social mobility is the movement of individuals, families, households, or other categories of people within or between social strata in a society. It is a change in social status relative to one's current social location within a given society. Judge, the definition is important in the debate. If the proposition and opposition don't agree on the definition of the term affirmative action, it could change our point of views. We may actually be supporting the same idea, but we wouldn't know since we have different definitions in our head. Also, they didn't define public schools. So here I'm going to define public schools. Public schools are public colleges, not elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools. The proposition cannot say that they are generating money for the economy and that this is crucial in society, so they win. The point we're trying to make by saying this is that in the opposition world, we're saving lives and adding money to the economy. But Opti will continue with that in their speech. My first point is that race-based affirmative action decreases hate crimes. Minorities and non-minorities have been treated differently for hundreds of years. Slavery and segregation are some examples of this. Using affirmative action, we can obliterate that division and ensure a diverse environment where people with different lifestyles, cultures, and opinions can interact and learn from each other's differences. We start by increasing diversity rates in colleges with race-based affirmative action, then those applicants will move on to jobs in companies, making those companies diverse. Diversity rates will increase because with race-based affirmative action, we're giving more minorities the opportunity to go to these colleges. It also equalizes the opportunities for minorities and non-minorities by making the lack of resources that most minorities have access to, and by no means lets in unqualified people keep up with the curriculum. This racial diversity is key to decreasing racial tension and hate crimes founded on a lack of knowledge and understanding, since most of the time colleges encourage a healthy learning environment for its students. According to Grace Cow, who was the professor of sociology at Yale, after employing affirmative action, hate crimes and racially charged homicides decreased by 4,600 instances. The FBI announced a disturbing 17% increase in reported hate crimes in 2017. Law enforcement agencies disclosed 7,175 hate crimes in America during 2017, up from 6,121 in 2016. This is the third consecutive year that reported hate crimes have increased, and it's the single biggest spike on the surge of incidents targeting Muslims in 2001 after the attacks on September 11th. Of the hate crimes that likely occur each year in our country, only about 1% are reported in official federal statistics, estimates Maya Berry, executive director of the Arab American Institute. Judge, this shows that even though 7,175 hate crimes seems like a lot, thousands more that are committed are not reported. According to the United States Department of Justice, 59.6% of hate crimes were caused because of race and ethnicity. Diversity in colleges makes students ready for the workforce, since they get the open-minded personality, which is key to succeed in a job. Diversity gives students an open worldview, which helps them get a job. This leads to economic growth. This also shows that non-minorities benefit from this policy. If we continue to implement race-based affirmative action in public schools, people will learn to see past something as insignificant as race. This mindset will allow a more diverse environment with people of different cultures and interests. As a direct result, we can save thousands of innocent lives from being the victims of hate crimes due to the increased tolerance and awareness of our population. Once a life is lost, it can never be replaced. Also, even if minority students affected by hate crimes are not physically scarred, they will remember being a target of a hate crime forever. There's a lot of people who are physically and or mentally scarred. According to the National Institute on Mental Health, in 2017, there was an estimated 46.6 million adults aged 18 or older the United States with AMI. This number represented 18.9% of all US adults. This is one of the most important issues in the round under net benefits. If we implement race-based affirmative action, then we can ensure a more safe environment for these minorities to live in and succeed in. This will only impact their minds towards growing and learning and will only make them a better learner. This impacts out to economic success. According to the Harvard Business Review, new research provides compelling evidence that diversity unlocks and drives market growth, a finding that should intensify efforts to ensure that executive ranks both embody and embrace the power of differences. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, my time starts now. Hello, Judge. My name is Matthew, and I'll be speaking for the topic that race-based affirmative action does more harm than good in public schools. I'm the second speaker of the proposition team, and I believe that this statement is true. The first opposition speaker has tried to tell you that affirmative action creates the needed diversity in colleges. This is wrong because, as Dr. Lewis P. Podgman said, Let us agree that despite the evidences of a booming economy, the poor are suffering grievously, with children being born into desperate material of and psychological poverty, for whom the ideal of equal opportunity for all is a cruel joke. Many feel that the federal government has abandoned its guarantee to provide the minimum necessities for each American. Um, so that um, the many feel that the federal government has abandoned its guarantee to provide the minimum necessities for each American, so that the pace of this tragedy that seems to be worsening daily. Add to this the fact that in our country, African Americans have a legacy of slavery and unjust discrimination to contend to, and we have makings of an inferno, and perhaps, in worst case scenario, the downfall of a nation. What is the answer to a national problem? Is it welfare, more job training, more support to education, required licensing of parents which have child? All of these have merit, but all of these have merit and should be part of the national debate. But my thesis is, however tragic the situation may be, one policy is not a legitimate part of the solution. Strong, strong affirmative action, which implicitly advocates reverse discrimination, while no doubt, well, intentioned, is morally diverse. Diversity is not what affirmative action is actually getting to. Diversity is what people think affirmative action is getting to. Affirmative action is actually cre- is affirmative action should be created by um diverse um affirmative action should be created by diverse mindsets and different they shouldn't just be looking for race. They should be looking for um other qualities of people which create diverse which will make the college more diverse. Now I will recap what Alice said on her first contention. Um, our first speaker has already stated that this affirmative action causes students to be placed in classes where they cannot flourish, and race-based affirmative action promotes racism. Um, Today I will be talking to you about no today, to my first point. I think that even with affirmative action, um African Americans and Hispanics are still underrepresented, and now even less than before. Affirmative action is not helping. Better education earlier will. According to the New York Times, African Americans that get enrolled in colleges are 6%, but 15% of college age people are African Americans. These statistics are pretty much the same as they were in 1980. While the while the number of while the number of Hispanics attending college has increased, the growing population of Hispanics contributes to the gap between students and college-age population widening. Better education faster will help us understand which hardworking students should achieve the scholarships, thus eliminating the people who are not ready for college. Now to my second point. I think that diversity is not actually what affirmative action is doing. As I stated before, if diversity were really the goal, then preferences would be given on the basis of unusual characteristics, not on the basis of race. This flawed system is not what people need. We need to remove affirmative action. My time is done. Oh.
My time starts now. Hello everyone, my name is Tariq Mohammed and I'm the second opposition speaker on the topic of Race-based affirmative action in public schools does more harm than good. A quick roadmap for your convenience, Judge. First, I will repeat the proposition's contentions, and then I will continue with what Opposition 1 said, and then I will say my own contentions. Proposition 2 said that many children of other races are turned down because they are not minorities, and this causes reverse discrimination. First of all, even in our worst case scenario, it is better to turn down a non-minority than a minority. If you look at our evidence from the Philadelphia Inquirer, rejected minorities have a higher likelihood of not attending college at all, and a higher chance of depression, suicide, and drug abuse, which leads to fatal illnesses like cancer. Also, that is not the point. We, the opposition, want it to be fair for everyone, including minorities. You're thinking only about the needs of majorities, not minorities. Using this policy, minorities and non-minorities are given an equal chance to get into the college of their choice. Before, more minorities were rejected from colleges due to race, but now a more equal amount of minorities and non-minorities are rejected from colleges. He also said that race-based affirmative action underrepresents African Americans and Hispanics. Data from an influential 2009 book in which two Princeton sociologists, Thomas Espenshane and Alexander Radford, quantified how well you needed to score on your SATs to have an equal chance of admission as someone of another race. It implies that a black student who scores 1,000 on his or her SATs would have an equal chance of admission as a white student who scores 1,310 or an Asian American student who scores 1,450. This is not a problem for Asian Americans because when ACT released its test scores in October 2018, the results showed that average scores took a dip for every racial group in the United States except one, Asian Americans. A similar situation played out with the SAT. Asian Americans experienced a gain over previous results, 42 points on a 1,600 point scale, while other groups had either modest gains, no gains, or lost ground. This means that while helping African Americans, Hispanics, and whites exponentially, the harm that Asian Americans face does not hurt them as much as the proposition suggests. So therefore, we win this debate of the underrepresented minorities. My first point is that it increases social mobility. The cycle of poverty traps minorities and diminishes their quality of life. There exists very little opportunity for social mobility for minorities in low-income communities. Minorities don't have enough resources for higher education and a higher socio-economic status, and so are stuck in low-income communities with a poor quality life. This impacts out to greater poverty rates and death. Race-based affirmative action allows minorities who otherwise are statistically more likely to be stuck in circumstances of poverty to access a higher socio-economic status. According to a study by The Economist, in a comparative study of the U.S. economy when affirmative action wasn't and was widely implemented, the rate of minorities raising above the poverty line tripled, adding over $12.8 million to the economy. The study found a direct correlation between affirmative action and the decrease in poverty. According to Harry J. Holder, professor of public policy at Georgetown University, despite the existence of equal employment opportunity laws at the federal level for over 40 years, minorities and women continue to face systematic barriers in pursuing education and the employment opportunities. Asian women earn 87% as much as white men, African American women earn 65% as much, and Hispanic women earn 58% as much as white men. Among full and part-time workers in the U.S., blacks in 2015 earned just 75% as much as whites in median hourly earnings, and women earned 83% as much as men. Clearly, this is unjust. Because roughly 17% of rejected minorities end up not attending college at all, race-based affirmative action allows minorities to have a chance at a higher education, which is the only way to escape their cycle of poverty. Poverty increases one's exposure to crime, drugs, and violence, which leads to thousands of deaths each year. By preventing tens of thousands of minorities from staying in poverty and allowing them to contribute to the economy, not only do we save lives, but we also generate millions of dollars for the economy. According to a study done by Sandro Galea, MD, PhD, chair of epidemiology in the Columbia Mailman School of Public Health, in 2000, 162,000 minority deaths were recorded due to low social support, 133,000 to individual level poverty, and 39,000 to area level poverty. Judge, lives are at stake. If race-based affirmative action is put into place, thousands of lives will be saved and more minorities will be put into colleges. And like we previously stated, this will make the colleges diverse and the companies they go to diverse, giving them training for the workforce. My second point is that it decreased drug abuse among minority students. Quoted from Aneri Patani of the Philadelphia Inquirer, in states with a ban on affirmative action, smoking among Black, Hispanic, and Native American high school students increased nearly 14% after those bans were put in place, resulting in over 480 documented cases of chronic illnesses like lung cancer and bronchitis. Since smoking rates increased, this means that more minorities are dying. These people now know there's no way to get into college easily and need more, and instead have to work a lot harder than the majority, so they resort to smoking and drugs. Drug use is harmful and can lead to disease like cancer and consequently death. Thank you.
My time starts now. Hello, everyone. My name is Ayush Parikh, and I'm the third opposition speaker on the topic that race-based affirmative action in public schools does more harm than good. Here's a quick roadmap for your convenience. I will first be summarizing the opposition's contentions, and then I will summarize the opposition's refutes against the proposition's contentions. Then I will do some impact weighing and talk about net benefits. Finally, I will show you why our world is better than the proposition's world. We, the opposition, said that race-based affirmative action decreases hate crimes. We talked about how non-minorities and minorities have been treated differently for ages. By using affirmative action, we can ensure a diverse environment and safe environment for these minorities to live in and succeed in decreasing hate crimes. Our reasoning proves right, since Grace Kao, professor of sociology at Yale, stated that after implementing race-based affirmative action, hate crimes and racially charged homicides decreased by 4,600 instances. We also said that according to the United States Department of Justice, 59.6% of hate crimes were because of ethnicity and race. We can lower this percentage, and the first step to do that is to vote for the opposition in this debate. Op 2 said that race-based affirmative action increases social mobility since minorities and low-income communities have very little opportunity for social mobility. Race-based affirmative action allows minorities to access a higher socioeconomic status. We supported this by saying that according to a study done by The Economist, when race-based affirmative action was widely implemented, the rate of minorities rising above the poverty line tripled, adding over $12.8 million to the economy. If race-based affirmative action is implemented, unemployment rates will decrease. We also said that colleges will be diverse, giving them training for the diverse environment they will encounter in the workforce. Op2 started by saying that race-based affirmative action decreases drug abuse among minorities. Since minorities usually live in lower income neighborhoods, access to drugs and alcohol is widespread. Since without race-based affirmative action, they are more likely to get rejected from colleges, they are more likely to get stuck in the cycles of poverty and never go to college. We supported on how drugs can affect the minds of these minorities by giving evidence from the Philadelphia Inquirer. In states with a ban on affirmative action, smoking among Black, Hispanic, and Native American high school students increased nearly 14% after those bans were put into place, resulting in over 480 documented cases of chronic illnesses like lung cancer and bronchitis. A nationwide ban on affirmative action would see thousands, maybe millions of cases. We continued by saying that minorities' drug use can lead to thousands of deaths a year. Furthermore, minority students who don't even pursue a college education as a result of not being admitted to public school through race-based affirmative action quotas are stuck in cycles of poverty, which lead them to have a statistically higher exposure to crimes, drugs, and violence, which not only harms our economy but leads to thousands of deaths a year. Then we gave some statistics for the National Crimes Victims Survey for 1992 to 2000. We gave some more evidence that says that Google is project spearheaded by minorities alone, they have contributed over 38 billion to the national GDP, a majority of whom were hired due to their diversity quotas in the hiring process. Now I will talk about some of the refutes that we gave to the proposition. So Op 1 said that race-based affirmative action puts students into classes where they can't flourish. But because minority students admitted into better universities are ambitious and wish to prove that they belong there, they work harder and study more, resulting in better educational enrichment than if they were not admitted to better public school universities. Furthermore, if they're statistically able to keep up with the rigor and perform similarly well to their Caucasian peers due to their ambition and motivation to promote well. Now onto my impact weighing. Judge, we can get money back, but once we lose a life, we can never get it back. The proposition is encouraging drug abuse, hate crimes, and depression among minorities. This leads to higher suicide rates. All in all of the activity that the proposition is encouraging by abolishing race-based affirmative action kills more people than you think. According to Vox, the Supreme Court has ruled time and again that being inclusive doesn't mean we have to be colorblind. For example, today's schools are highly segregated and children of color still face major disadvantages. So creating a more inclusive system requires us to recognize the role of race in America, and this is arguably the best defense of affirmative action. According to the New York Times, after banning affirmative action, there were approximately 1,300 more cases of depression and 220 more cases of suicide. Life weighing takes priority, so the opposition takes priority in this debate. Now onto my net benefits. Bad mental health is one of the most important issues in net benefits for proposition. In the opposition's world, we have economic success, which is a clear win on net benefits. Now to my two-world analysis. In the world of the proposition, they benefit the economy but let people die. They also encourage violent activities such as hate crimes and racially charged homicides. They also don't encourage increased innovation, which breaks society. In my team's world, the world of the opposition, we benefit the economy in several different ways, and more importantly, we save irreplaceable lives, which are far more important than stacks of paper. With more people, that means more workers under specific tasks. With race-based affirmative action, more minorities can learn about different topics that interest them in colleges and pursue a job in that field, increasing innovation. This generates more money for the economy. So in our world, we generate money for the economy and save lives too. This is why, in the end, the opposition has truly won this debate. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Audrey, and I'm the third speaker for Proposition. First, I will restate our previous contentions. Affirmative action causes students to be placed into classes where they can't flourish, since students of color are more likely to get into colleges than Caucasian students with the same grades. These students are the ones that underperform when they could have done better in another less competitive college. It also promotes racism, giving minority races a better and more unfair chance than other students. Affirmative action is not actually spreading diversity. Last, they stated that affirmative action underrepresents a minority and is not the correct solution. Next, I will summarize what the opposition said. The first opposition speaker said that affirmative action decreases hate crime, but that doesn't stop people who hate from hating. The second speaker said that race-based affirmative action allows poor minority races to get a higher social status. But if minority use race-based affirmative action, they didn't truly earn their success. Next, I will summarize their refutes. The first opposition speaker said that people who are ambitious and wish to be at college do better. However, just because they're ambitious doesn't change the fact that they can underperform. Next, I'll say our two-world analysis. In their world where affirmative action is flourishing, unfair prejudices are apparent. College admissions are biased, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of a colorblind society will never happen. But in ours, where affirmative action is abolished, all students' race is not considered in the admissions process, and it's up to their credentials as determining factors of colleges admissions. I'm done.
Okay, so we're gonna wait a little bit while the judges are deliberating, coming to a conclusion. And in the meantime, there's a minute, we're gonna prepare some stuff. But congratulations, you guys have finished the showcase. It went very well. And one sec.
Thank you so much for providing us such a fun and educational showcase debate. And while we're waiting for our judges' ballots, we would like to take this time to thank everyone for coming to our sessions throughout the entirety of our program, especially during our transition to the online platform for 7 of our 8 sessions. And we are so proud of how much progress you have all made through these 3 sessions. We would like to take this time while we're waiting to give a special thanks to the administration at Hirsch and the people who made this program possible. So first, a big thank you to Mrs. Arroyo and the Hirsch PTA for allowing FDA to come back to Hirsch this year. Thank you to Mrs. Kodama for being so understanding and accommodating throughout the entire scheduling and setup process. Thank you to Mrs. Arroyo and Mr. Lerma for making sure that we had access to the multi-purpose room and the projector while we were still hosting sessions at school. And thank you to all the parent volunteers at our first session for helping us supervise the session. And lastly, thank you to all the student volunteers in both middle school and high school in FDA for dedicating your time into teaching and judging at in-person sessions, and also staying with us at online sessions as well. So while teaching novice, I've seen so many of you guys start off with knowing nothing about debate to becoming such confident speakers. And that learning curve and that pattern of growth is something so remarkable. And I'm so excited that you guys have all learned so much about how to research properly, find better resources than procon.org or debate.com, and really learn how to stay updated with current events and continuously read about the news so that you're able to form great arguments and use that skill to apply to any persuasive essays that you might write in the future, and also any arguments that you might have in the future as well.
And for my advanced kids, I remember the first few sessions we had, it was kind of a mess. Honestly, I probably could have done a lot of better preparation, and I didn't feel very good going in as a tutor, despite having done it for a year last year. And then after all that, assuming we have time to adjust, everything is going to be fine. Then all of a sudden, schools get canceled, and now it's been a month and a half, and you guys are probably at home bored out of your minds. But I mean, it's been 8 weeks, and we're finally done. And it was a surprising journey, because every single time I go there, I judge or I teach, I feel like I learned something. And me being 17 years old, going off to college next year, for me to say that I'm still learning from you guys. It's not just me teaching you guys, lecturing you guys about affirmative action or why junk food is bad, but also being able to learn. It's a really amazing experience. And I'm so proud of all of you guys. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's really amazing to see like how far you guys have come. Fixing the things that the judges have been able to tell you, like work on it, and then being able to see that change. It's a really amazing experience. And so we're going to wait for the judges a bit more. We're going to check in on them and see if they're ready.
So now the judges have all come to a decision on who the winner is going to be. A virtual drum roll, please. So the winner for Hirsch FDA's 2020 Showcase Debate is the opposition team of Ayush and Tariq. So once again, thank you for everyone who has attended all of our sessions and consistently turned in homework on Google Classroom. The skill that debate helps you develop is so incredibly important by keeping up to date with current events, knowing how to formulate educated arguments, and overall having great communication skills. And being able to draw your research from credible sources and actually understand the events that affect the world around us are crucial in today's atmosphere. We genuinely appreciate your dedication to debate and hope you carry it with you in the future.
Yeah, we're saying all of this stuff right now, but your journey as debaters isn't over by a long way, right? For our fourth graders, we're excited to see you again next year in advanced to progress even further, because we FDA as an organization has so much to teach you guys. And for the fifth and sixth graders watching on YouTube, don't be discouraged if you weren't part of the Showcase Debate this year. You have a long road ahead of you. You have so much to learn. You have so much time to practice. So keep practicing. And if you end up going to Horner, try out for Horner Debate Club. It's a really life-changing experience, as both me and Selina have been a part of it. Teaches you a lot, not just about speaking, but you also learn about yourself. We as FDA also offer many online resources, and usually in the summer we hold summer camp in July and August. We're still seeing how that's working out at the moment, but we're also hosting a live lecture series right now on YouTube, and our VPs of education and co-founders will talk more about economics and politics and how coronavirus is affecting them. And you can tune in for a lecture tomorrow. Actually, it's the third one on May 5th from 4 to 5 p.m. You can check out our Facebook for the link and more lecture dates. I'll also be sending out an email as well as a sort of a reminder. And if you miss any lectures, you can find all of our lectures, all of our educational videos and live streams on this channel.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you all so much for making Hirsch FDA such a great year and having such a great time at our sessions as well. It was our pleasure to be your instructors this year, and we all hope that you will all take this knowledge that you've learned with us and continue your debate journey, because remember, it doesn't stop here. You can always learn more by yourself on our YouTube channel with all the videos that are already pre-recorded about how to refute, and also the live lecture series as well tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful 8 weeks. Goodbye. Stay safe. Thanks for coming.